We've made it through the gauntlet. 10 practices in the books. Rube, how you feeling?
I'm feeling better than I was a few days ago.
Oh, that's good. I'm glad to
Great
hear
to be
it.
back out there for the last couple of days and looking forward to more of the same.
We have a lot to get to today. This is the Eagle Eye Podcast presented by Nissan. He's Reuben Frank. I'm Dave Zangaro. We're going to get to observations from practice in a little bit. We talked to a bunch of players after practice. We have some questions at the end of the pod. But we have something else to talk about today. A big story dropped on ESPN. Tim McManus and Jeremy Fowler. A lot of in-depth reporting about the relationship between Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni from last season. And I know some of the sentiment about it is like, what does it matter? They're moving on. It's a new year. Part of that's true, but sometimes you got to know where you've been to know where you're going, right? And these two are still together. It's still
That sounds like a Jalen Hurts quote.
I spent too much time with him.
I think so.
But these two, it's still a really important relationship. Maybe less important this year with the influence of Kellen Moore, but the head coach quarterback relationship is still really important. So I think really valuable reporting from those two gentlemen. A great job. I don't know where you want to start with it. It basically just detailed the relationship, and it was termed a fractured relationship by one of their sources. I think we know that it wasn't perfect last year between the two of them. There was some clear friction, but this just gave some details to all that.
Yeah, and I think my biggest takeaway from the piece, and again, good job by Tim and Jeremy, but my biggest takeaway was it was very balanced reporting. It wasn't just a Nick Sirianni hit job. I mean,
or a Jalen Hurts hit job,
right? Yeah. And they I don't know how many unnamed sources they talked to, but the blame was spread around, and it was clear from reading it. And again, we don't know exactly who they talked to, but it was clear that the people inside the organization who were around and saw their relationship put as much or almost as much blame on Jalen for things going bad than Nick, which I thought was interesting. And Jalen can be, look, we know he can be difficult. He's very, very guarded. He doesn't say much. He's a different kind of guy. And if they made the comparison between how outgoing and boisterous and, hard on his sleeve Nick is, and they're polar opposites.
And we've known that for a long time. And we always kind of wondered what would happen if things didn't go well. Would there be some tension?
Yeah.
Sure enough, there was some tension.
Yeah. And I think why this article is important is because of where they are now. And obviously Kellen Moore is now kind of middleman's not even a strong enough word. I mean, he's dealing with Nick and he's dealing with Jalen, and there's just so much less interaction between Jalen and Nick. But it sounds like there's enough that it's a functional relationship.
Yeah. And we've talked about this before. It's like they don't need to be best friends. They don't need to hang out. They don't need to take vacations together. They don't need to go out to dinner. But there has to be a level of respect to make the relationship work. It's like us, right? I don't like you out now. I think you need that functional level of respect between coworkers, especially two of the most important people in that building. So if they can achieve that, then everything's okay.
Yeah, and one of the points the article made was that Jalen just didn't have that. I don't know. He didn't have respect for Nick's X and O chops. Mm-hmm. I think is the phrase they used. But a lot of this is stuff that
might be fair based on what we saw last year.
Absolutely. And I mean, look, it was obvious when a team collapses like they did, it's obvious there's something amiss. And we knew that relationship wasn't in a great place. We've known that, but this kind of crystallizes it and goes in a little bit more into the why, which was good. Is it salvageable? I mean, I think so. I think they both want the same thing. And it sounds like they got together and spoke after the season or in the spring, I guess. And there has to be a third party in there when they talk.
It's salvageable through success.
Yeah. Although, I mean, look, they were 10-1 and, the article paints a picture of problems rumbling below the surface. I guess the roots were rotted underground. It's kind of the opposite of 2021. But, I mean, the piece is like, even though they were 10-1, they were, so the winds were shaky. Look, you're 10-1, you're 10-1.
No, I mean, we were there last year. It was a weird vibe around a 10-1 team.
There was.
Undoubtedly. It was like everyone was still on edge. And there was a story in the season. Like, are you guys having fun? They weren't having fun.
Yeah.
It was very clear. They were pressing. They weren't playing as well as they wanted to play. And it was kind of wearing on everyone.
Yeah. And I think this is the Super Bowl hangover people talk about. That's what it is. Mm-hmm. It's just hard to, just going 10-1 after a Super Bowl is impressive, but it all kind of caught up with them at once, starting with the 49ers game and just spiraled. But it's worth reading. And is it behind? I don't know if it's behind a paywall.
It's not.
That's good. So, and
you can read it. And I would recommend it. So there are a few other things I wanted to hit on this. One was the Brian Johnson element of it, because he was kind of the middleman last year and it didn't go well. And this is something we talked about during the season last year, where Brian Johnson was like public enemy number one. We talked about it on this podcast. Like, he's handcuffed by this offense. There's that definite vibe of it. And I don't know what it would have been if it was just like, hey, Brian, run whatever you want to run. We didn't get to see that, so I don't know what it would have looked like. I don't think it would have looked exactly like it did.
So hard to tell. Probably.
Wouldn't have.
Probably right. Yeah, I don't know. I also don't think he's without blame.
No, I think everyone had a hand in it. Yeah. I just think he, like, being the middleman, like, I think Kellen Moore is in a much better situation,
no doubt,
right now than Brian Johnson was last year. And that's it. Like, if the tension, and this is like kind of paints the picture of why it was so necessary to bring in someone with their own system to run. If the quarterback doesn't trust the system that the guy, like, then it's not going to work.
Right.
So I think that it makes Kellen Moore's responsibility that much more important. And in the back of your mind, you wonder, well, if this does work and Kellen leaves, then what's going to happen? We're getting ahead of ourselves there, but that's something else to monitor. Like, if this really does work, that's a rich man problem, but it's still a problem.
Yeah, I know a lot of, I constantly get asked about that, rich man's problem. I like that. If they have a great year and Kellen Moore's in demand, is getting coaching offers to get rid of Nick and make Kellen Moore, it's not going to happen. Jeff Lurie doesn't think that way. Most owners aren't going to fire a coach after what we just said is a great year. I guess you just try to find another Kellen Moore who can fit that role there in the middle, which might not be too easy to do. But that's a question for the future if we get that far, and there's no guarantee we will.
The last two things I wanted to hit on, two anecdotes from the piece. One was the lead anecdote, Nick Sirianni in the spring in front of the entire organization, not just the team, but the organization, taking ownership and accepting blame for a lot of what went wrong last year. And Nick was asked about that today at his press conference, and accountability is really important to him. And I thought, we make fun of his core values because they're very easy to make fun of sometimes, but he really does care about them. And he has to, like, show these things. He has to be accountable, or he can't ask anyone else to be accountable. So I think that was a kind of a really important moment for this franchise.
Yeah, I would think you're right. The way last year finished, everyone was looking at him. How you're gonna take your share of the blame here, or what? What's going on? When he came back, when we learned he was coming back. So
yeah, because like the organization divvied out blame. They fired their coordinators.
Yeah,
they kept him.
Yeah.
So it's like incumbent on him to raise his hand. He's not going to fire himself, so he's got to accept blame and then try to fix it.
Yeah, I'm sure that wasn't easy for him, but I wouldn't think.
I don't know. It might not have been as hard as you think. If he believes that, then he has to get up there and tell the truth and kind of accept some of it.
Yeah.
And the other anecdote, not as deep, but Jalen Hurts contacted Wink Martindale to get some tips from him because Wink blitzed the heck out of him. And we know that blitzing has kind of been the Achilles heel for this offense with Jalen Hurts as quarterback. So I like that. I think that's very cool. And Jalen did it without expecting that anyone would ever find out.
I'm sure. Wink was glad to talk about it.
Wink gets to talk about his defense?
Yeah.
He likes that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of all we had on that. But got to address it. It's a big story.
Yeah, no doubt.
Today at practice, a light day, about an hour and 15, 16 minutes, kind of a cooler, overcast day, no full pads, shorts and shells. So not as like thick of observations, but we still have plenty to get to.
Not as thick.
In terms of my actual notebook.
It's thinner. Oh, I see.
Yeah.
The used pages, it's thinner.
Mm-hmm.
What do you use, a different notebook each day?
No.
Okay.
No. But like the amount of pages I use.
Number of pages.
I'm through like 3/4 of a notebook in training camp.
Wow. Might need a new one.
Bunch of scribble.
You don't go 2 pages, do you? Like back and front?
No, because then it bleeds through and it's hard to read. Yeah. I would love to save the environment, but not that way. I'll recycle more or something. At practice, no Oren Burks, no Paris Campbell, no CJ Gardner-Johnson, no Mekhi Garner, no Brendan Smith. CJ GJ, we're still told not a long-term injury, but we didn't expect to see him today, and we didn't. He's out there just watching practice. He's not going to obviously play on Friday night. I would imagine they're not going to bring him back for a joint practice. He's probably not going to. So it might be a little while, but there's not a lot of on-field time.
Right. Because they have the game Friday, so they'd be off Saturday, maybe Sunday. Might practice Monday before they go up to Foxborough. I would think they practice either Sunday or Monday, because then the joint practice up there is Tuesday.
It's Tuesday.
And then they'll be off Wednesday. It's the day before a game. Then they'll be off Friday because it's the day after a game. So, yeah, they're not going to practice much over the next week and a half.
Mm-hmm. John Ross back at practice. He left early on Tuesday. He looked fine. Tyler Steen no longer a limited participant, and that leads us to the depth chart, because now there's no caveat with this. Mekhi Becton is getting first-team reps over Tyler Steen. They're both fully healthy. They're both full participants on the practice report, and Mekhi Becton is the right guard.
It's early. That's what we were told. But obviously, Mekhi Becton has supplanted Tyler Steen at right guard. That's happened. And
doesn't mean it'll stay that way.
Doesn't mean it'll stay that way. But, gosh, Tyler Steen practiced 2 days, about half of a third day before getting hurt. He comes back and he's a backup. But that's the NFL. They believe Becton gives him a better chance, and it's his job to lose.
Yeah, I think that's the case. And now, unfortunately, we won't have like another chunk of practice days to see if they rotate. But I think if they were going to rotate, it'd be Steen today.
You think it'd be Steen?
If they rotated, like if they were going to rotate, it would have been
today.
Steen. Yeah,
right. I would agree with that.
Yeah,
and it wasn't.
Cornerback, another Isaiah Rodgers day first. In 7-on-7s, they like Slay came out, and then it was this was curious to me. They moved Rodgers from the right side to the left side, and then Quinyon Mitchell took over the right corner job. So maybe that's just the way they're structuring things, but a little notable.
Yeah, no doubt.
What else?
Also, I mean, if Q is going to play inside and outside Friday,
you go Q there? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
I don't know. I didn't know we were there yet with him.
Oh, I thought we were there.
Okay.
I mean, is that still Quentin Michael to you?
It is, but I'm fine. We can go Q.
Okay.
Q dog.
No.
Okay.
So that's a little much.
Sorry.
But I figure if he's going to be playing some outside reps against the Ravens, get a little work there.
Yeah, that makes sense. We mentioned CJ GJ. That meant Avonte Maddox today, again, was first-team safety. Eventually, Bradbury worked in there, but that makes more sense to me. I mean, Maddox has played safety a little bit. We know he's more likely to be on the roster, I think.
I think everyone knows what James Bradbury can do. JB.
At safety?
No, I was being facetious.
Oh, okay.
But he has been he's been fine.
Yep. That's kind of it. We saw Tanner McKee take some more second-team reps today. That might have been a result of the type of practice. They didn't give any third-team reps today. It was a light day, so you still want to see him throw.
Yeah.
And we've talked about that a little bit. It's like, that's a fact. Tanner McKee is getting some second-team reps. He is not getting as many as Kenny Pickett. I don't believe Kenny Pickett is in actual danger of losing the number 2 job. I think they brought him in here for a reason. They traded for him. I think he's looked better as the summer has gone on. So overall, has McKee looked better to me? Yes. Yeah. But not to the extent that I think a real shakeup in the depth chart is in order.
Yeah, I think it would take a combination of Pickett being really, really bad in the games and Tanner McKee being in the games and practice, but Tanner McKee being really, really good. I think McKee's been really good, but Pickett's been okay. I don't think he's done anything to lose the job.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. You want to just go through some of these obs today?
Yeah.
Like I said, a light day. We don't talk about Slay very often, but we should. I mean, he's had a really good camp. He had a chance on a ball today, broke up a pass to Joseph Ngata. It was a throw. It was like late in a first team period, so the receivers kind of rotated out, and Joseph Ngata was out there against him. Jalen Hurts threw a good ball. I mean, he gave the receiver a chance, but Slay just played it perfectly, timed his jump, batted it away. There just haven't been many passes on Slay this camp.
Yeah, he does look really good, and that was Ngata. After that rep, it kind of reminded me of Travis Fulgham, that training camp, when he had so many opportunities to make big plays and he just couldn't finish any of them. Kind of Joseph Ngata's kind of having that kind of camp.
And he's been just the victim of like really good DB play.
Yeah, but I think part of that is he's just not good enough.
Might be true.
But yeah, that was a really nice play by Slay. But he's been doing that. I wrote about him in my 10 obs.
He looks good. And like, I know the history. We all know the history.
That's what I was getting at.
Yeah.
I think the Eagles have only had 2 corners that age, 33 or older, start 10 games in history. Bob Howard in 79. I didn't know Bob. And Troy Vincent, who played really well into his mid-30s. But it's really rare. He takes good care of himself. He still thinks he's the fastest guy in the team.
I don't think he is.
He says he wants to race Isaiah Rodgers. And but he looks as good as you can imagine a 33-year-old corner looking. Yeah,
and there have been some exceptions to the aging corner rule, like recently, guys like Patrick Peterson, Stephon Gilmore. So like elite level guys, but I think Slay is in that class. And yeah, maybe he doesn't last the season. I think it's very possible we're in November and we say, yeah, he's not the same guy anymore. But based on what I'm seeing right now, I don't think that's going to happen.
I think it would take an injury to get to that point. You never know with corners, and last year I think that was the issue. And he had that. He got scoped during the season and came back, and he just wasn't quite right. You could see he couldn't move, he couldn't run, but he looks healthy, he looks fast, and he looks as good as ever.
Yeah, I totally agree. Britton Covey had the catch of the day.
Yes,
contested catch. Tristan McCollum right there with him, gave him a good hit. Covey secures the catch.
It was down the field a little bit.
Down there, like 20, 25 yards. Yeah. Good pass from Kenny Pickett, kind of burning it in there. Covey's tough, man. He we're so used to seeing him just get clobbered, and he does, but he bounces right back up. He held the ball through the contact with the player and through the contact with the ground. Yeah, he looks good.
I thought it was his best play this summer. And
I agree with that.
Tristan McCollum was right there. He was right on him, and the ball kind of went through him. And I'm not quite sure how Covey caught it, but he caught it and he got hit. And then, like you said, he hit the ground pretty good and came up with it. And then just started running like, I think you're down, Britton. But man, he does something every day to get noticed. Mm-hmm. And he's making a believer out of me.
On the flip side of that, Johnny Wilson with a drop today.
He did.
He's been pretty smooth with. He's not the most natural pass catcher, but he's been catching pretty much everything recently in camp. He had a uncharacteristic drop
down.
Today.
It was a short pass down on the right sideline.
Yep.
Yeah. It's the first ball I've seen him drop.
Not the first one I've seen him drop. First one I've seen him drop since like the first couple of days of camp.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I don't remember before yesterday.
Grant Calcaterra had another nice catch up the seam. He's tight end too. He had another chance on a 7-on-7 in the back of the end zone. You almost got taken out by this play.
Yes.
It was out near where you were watching practice from, but it was a great throw by Jalen. Kind of burned it in. The pass was where it needed to be. Calcaterra was very close. Did not get both feet in.
You probably had a better angle than me because I was running to save.
Yeah, I actually had a perfect angle. I was on the
you were right on the goal line.
Yeah.
I saw you over there. I was with Bo Wolf, and he said no catch, but we didn't know which way Grant was going to run. So I wasn't really sure where to go. So I just backpedaled as fast as I could.
Yeah, I was given he was out.
Yeah. It was close.
It was close. Yeah.
But just to see him catch that ball was.
And it was like he knew where the line was. He didn't make the play, but he knew where it was. There was a play later with Austin Watkins in the back of the end zone.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel bad now that I'm bringing up a bad play by the kid. He had no idea where the line was.
We called that a catch, though.
It wasn't.
Oh.
He was definitely out. It wasn't close.
Oh, it was close.
No, it wasn't.
It was close, but
I was on the goal line. He wasn't close.
So was I. Anyway, I'm not going to argue about it, but we'll check the play-by-play later.
Okay. I'll ask the Eagles to look up that tape. He wasn't close. My point was that like Calcaterra understood where he had to be.
He just didn't get there.
Yeah. That was all.
And I think it's important to note that Grant Calcaterra has taken a big step forward, I think, as a receiver. I mean, he was okay last summer, but I just think he looks more like a pro. He looks more confident.
And I've put this in my notes a few times. I didn't see any plays today that showed it, but he looks more comfortable blocking as a lead blocker, getting downfield. And honestly, that matters more.
Just might, although he's number 2 either way. So, but they need some effort at him in those situations.
Yeah, but I mean, he's 2 either way, but he's got to be able to do it.
Yeah,
you know, like lose some big yardage if the guy can't block.
Yeah.
I wrote this today because I haven't written it all summer. The slant to AJ Brown is still like the best possible play the Eagles have.
Can't stop it.
It's easy money every single time. It was funny. They had a 4th and 3 today. Like Nick's on the bullhorn, yelling the situation. I'm like, I know what I would run. Sure enough, like there it is. It's almost unstoppable because he's so big and he uses his frame so well to shield the defender from the ball that he makes that play more often than not.
Why isn't Kellen Moore yelling out those situations? 4th and 3, 3rd and 9.
Because it's not a situation for one side of the football. It's a team drill.
Oh, okay.
That's why Nick yells.
So he's the team coach.
He's the head coach of the football team.
Okay. Well, I understand that. I know his title.
Yeah, you think it should be Kellen?
No, I just think it's interesting.
Oh, I think it makes a ton of sense because it's not 4th and 3 for the offense. It's 4th and 3 for the offense and defense.
Yeah, I understand that, but
that's like saying, why doesn't Vic yell out the situation?
4th and 3 is a situation for the offense, and then the defense is defending it. But the 3rd and 9, 4th and 3, those are offensive. The offense has 4th and 3. The defense is facing a 4th and 3. Let's just move on. This is stupid.
Yeah, it is.
Let's talk about Hurts.
I'm on the right side of that one.
Let's ask Max Hennessy what he thinks. Let's talk about Jalen Hurts not throwing an interception.
Jalen Hurts has not thrown an interception.
Okay, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, we did it a little bit yesterday. He's looked really good. He looks sharp.
Did he break the record today?
He did. He broke a record that doesn't really exist.
It exists in Elliott Shore Park's mind, and that's the only place.
It does. Look, the numbers are whatever Elliott says they are, but the eye test tells you that he looks sharp. And we talked about it yesterday. It's not like it's all checkdowns. He's burning some in there. He's putting the ball where only his player can catch it. And it's just like a mastery of an offense that he's pretty new with. I've been so impressed by him this summer.
Yeah, and that's why the joint practice, and I wish there were 2 of them, but the joint practice with the Patriots, you get to see him against another defense, and we'll see if he can keep that up.
Nakobe Dean, a little breakdown in coverage today. I don't know if it was all on him. He looked confused. So there was like some kind of breakdown, but Dallas Goedert, like wide open against their zone coverage for a touchdown. Nakobe was the closest guy to him. So maybe he expected he had more help and he didn't, but it's just another play where I don't love what I see from 17 in coverage, and that's worrisome.
Yeah, it's a tough matchup for him, and they really like Dallas in the red zone. He's been doing good work down there for really all summer, but yeah, it's a little concerning.
I did put this in my notes today because I think I got to be fair. 2 of the guys I've had to stock down players in recent weeks made a couple plays today. Anaya Smith caught a ball that was fired to him by Kenny Pickett in 7-on-7s, caught it in stride, and then looked pretty good after the catch. And then Tyrion Davis-Price had a touchdown grab in the flat in the red zone. A guy who's dropped some passes, and I've told you hasn't looked very good. It's a long summer. These guys can come around a little bit.
Yeah, and especially for Smith. I mean, it's good to see because a guy can get down on himself. He hasn't had a good summer. Johnny Wilson's kind of bypassed him as far as the 2 rookie late round receivers, and sometimes it's hard for these guys to stay positive and stay. When you're not making plays, you're not getting reps. So it was good to see him do something positive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's pretty much all I have today. The Devin White, he got some second team reps today. Which meant he didn't have to deal with Saquon Barkley as a pass protector. I mean, Saquon, for as good as he is at everything else, gosh, he's incredible stopping blitzes. Like, him in pass protection is going to be such an improvement over just about everyone the Eagles have had in recent history. I mean, he's that much better at it. So he's really shut down Devin White a lot of the time. But Devin White had back-to-back snaps. One was against Will Shipley, the next against Lou Nichols, and he just steamrolled both of them.
Yeah, it's
and it's a good reminder that, like, there aren't Saquon Barkleys on every team.
True.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just see him out there. I'm like, they signed Saquon Barkley. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it is pretty weird. Good to see Chris Long out of practice today. Bo Allen out of practice. Jason Kelsey out of practice. Torrey Smith was out there the other day. Super Bowl
Wilbur
guys.
Montgomery was out there. Previous Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's true.
Ron Jaworski was there.
Jaws was there. Yeah.
Pre-game, post-game, college.
Michael Barkan out there.
Yeah, we had the whole group other than Barrett.
Yeah.
The whole pre-game, post-game cast. It was good seeing Kelsey. I didn't see him the other day. So it was good to catch up with him a little bit.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to talk to any of those guys because I was kind of waiting on, I was doing something. I saw them, and then by the time I was done the work I had to do, they were gone. But
Chris Long looks good.
Yeah.
It's good seeing Allie Waddington.
Oh, former PR, Eagles PR. Yeah.
Alum. No.
Today was like a fun day because it was a light practice. And, after a heavy practice that's really hot, everyone wants to get the heck off the field. There's no hanging around, really. I mean, some guys will hang out, their families there. But today, everyone kind of hung out. It was nice. It felt like a reunion a little bit.
It did. A lot of fun people around.
All right, let's take a break. We have plenty more on the other side.
You deserve a car that thrills you, a car that puts goosebumps on your goosebumps. At Nissan, we got everything from turbocharged SUVs to 100% electric vehicles that'll make your heart beat faster. Experience the thrill for yourself and shop your local Nissan store and nissanusa.com today.
Celebrity cook Steve Martorano brings his Italian-American cooking back home to Philly. Enjoy Martorano's Prime at Rivers Casino and Steve's famous meatballs with Sunday gravy, prime steaks, and more. Make reservations at Martorano's Prime on Open Table. All right, we're back. I missed most of the press conferences today. I was catching up with Jalix Hunt for my Surviving Camp series, which was a lot of fun today. So I'm looking forward to part 2 of that. What did I miss?
What was it? They brought a bunch of people over. Some were simultaneous. So I couldn't get to Josh Sweat because I was talking to Gainwell and Nolan Smith, Jalen Carter. I'll start with Jalen Carter. He talked a lot about, and we asked him a lot about lining up outside, lining up on the edge, which he really never did at Georgia. And he really likes it. And it's just another way to get a good matchup. And he just talked about the difference in rushing and having that kind of space. And he really likes it. And I don't know how much we'll see it. But
on occasion,
we might see it. Yeah,
it's something the Eagles did with Fletcher Cox quite a bit in his career
later. But I mean, apparently they're so comfortable with where he is that it's something that they're throwing out there. It's an interesting look.
It was something I actually asked Jeremiah Washburn about the other day. Just like, how much time do you get with a Jalen Carter, knowing that he's going to be out there? And he said Washburn and Clint Hurt, the interior defensive line coach, really kind of intermingle those guys quite a bit in a meeting setting. So he has good time with Carter, and vice versa. They have some like edge guys who will bump inside.
Mhm.
We've seen that with Brandon Graham, the best player of his career, came inside. So they're open to that. It's not going to be a ton. I mean, Jalen Carter is a 3 technique. He's going to play inside, but at times he's going to bounce out, and that can be effective.
Yeah, and when he was done talking, it was interesting because Nolan Smith was next, and I asked him about it, and he said, "Well, if you notice, he got all of his moves right from my tool bag." So he's like, everything he does is one of my moves, which was funny. But Nolan, we've talked to him a few times this summer, and just knows how important it is to carry over what he's doing in the summer into the season. And he's had a good looking summer, but he talked about how he's learned more how to set up a move with another move. And that's something he's really worked on. Just kind of, he said he calls it playing chess instead of playing checkers, just having a more 3-dimensional outlook on pass rushing.
That was something, back last year when they drafted him, that was something I kind of asked people in the building about, like, where is he in terms of like understanding how to set up his pass rush? And the answers I got were like, yeah, he's starting to get there.
Yeah.
So I think that was going to take a little bit of time for him.
Yeah. He thinks he's made big strides doing that. So that was good. We talked to Kenny Gainwell for quite a while.
Having a good camp.
He's having a good camp. And, I asked him about his role. I said, do you think you might end up having a bigger role? Which kind of be ironic. You sign a Saquon and Kenny might have a bigger role, but just because, first of all, I think they're going to be really careful with Saquon. And he's a guy who's got a lot of wear and tear on his body over the years, had a ton of touches with the Giants, had a couple seasons with over 300 touches. So I think you want to be smart with a guy like Saquon and not give him 25 touches a game. And I think Kenny Gainwell, he might have a personal best. I'm going to use a track phrase. Might have a career high in. I still got Cole Hocker on my mind. Might have a career high in touches just because of how I think they're going to be careful with Saquon. Saquon's clearly still number one, but I think Kenny's having a good camp. He talked about how he dreams about being a number one, and he says, I prepare every day to be number one and to be a starter, and that's what he wants. That's why he's not going to be here, because he wants that opportunity. I think he might get it. I'm not sure.
I don't know if he'll get that.
I don't know if he'll get it either. It might be a thing where somebody's got to get hurt somewhere. Yeah. He talked about what he's learned from Miles and DeAndre and Saquon, how they're all different. He's picked up something from each of them, and he said, they've picked stuff up from me too.
You know what? It's you got my mind racing a little bit with like how much Gainwell is going to play.
Mm-hmm.
He might get a decent. I think he's clearly second.
Yeah,
it might not be as defined as it's been in recent years, because in recent years he's had like a specific role. He's been like the 2-minute guy.
Yeah,
at times he's been the 4-minute guy, and that was just the coaching staff trusted him. They thought he could hold up in pass protection. I thought he could catch the ball out of the backfield.
Yeah.
Saquon is a player you can probably trust in those key situations more than DeAndre Swift or Miles Sanders. So I agree with you. The Gainwell's still going to play. I don't know if it's going to be as defined. I think it'll just be like Saquon needs a break. Now you're out there.
Yeah, I think that's definitely going to be the case, because you feel a lot better putting Kenny on the field and taking Miles off the field or DeAndre than
in those
Saquon.
Like key situations.
Yeah.
Like you feel pretty good about Saquon's like football IQ. Like that was always something with like, some of those other running backs. Like, is he going to know to stay in bounds in the 4-minute drill? Is he going to, does he have the wherewithal to get out of bounds in the 2-minute? Like, how are they handling this? Saquon is someone he should be able to handle that.
Yeah, I would think so. But Kenny made the point that like how many running backs in their 4th year have played with 3 different Pro Bowl running backs? He's like, it's really unusual.
I don't know what that says.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it says either. But
kind of cool.
He just talked about what he's learned from all of them, and he thinks he's better than he's ever been. And I think he looks good.
Yeah.
Who else did we talk to back there? Didn't get sweaty.
Did Zach McPherson come over?
I don't know. He was on the list, but
it was funny. I was talking to Jalix, and Zach McPherson was walking by, and we said hi, and he's like, "Oh, I'm supposed to do an interview." he
was on the list, but if he did, I missed it.
Okay.
Yeah. Who else? I think Goddard was at the podium, but I I couldn't get over there for him. I didn't want to leave Jalen Carter.
Yeah, sometimes you got to pick and choose.
Yeah. So I wish I should have 2 recorders. I can put one on the.
Yeah, all the podium stuff you can find.
Yeah. So, but it was a good day. It was a good day
good.
and the other thing, I believe it was Gainwell and Slay. Oh, Slay talked as well. Slay spoke. He talked about how much more intense these practices have been than his first few years here. He said that it's definitely the most physical, longest practices, and we know that. But he said we needed it. He said after the way last year ended, we needed to have, longer practices, more physical practices, and they have been. And and Gainwell said the same thing. He said it's because he's been here for all 4 Knicks seasons, which there's not a lot of people that have, but he said the players all like it and they appreciate it and they all feel like it was necessary.
That's good.
Yeah.
Questions? Actually, before we get the questions, I just want to say had a lot of fun talking to J-Lex Hunt for part 2 of Surviving Camp.
Mm-hmm.
Him working out with Connor Barwin is going to be a big part of this next one. Yeah, Connor's around and he's helping him, which is a lot of fun.
And when can we look for
that? Either Thursday or Friday. Haven't decided. I got to write it, so I have everything but writing it done. So.
Okay.
If I can get J-Lux to do that for me, that'd be great. But
he probably would.
You're right. All right. Email time.
He was creative writing minor at Cornell.
Is that true?
No, I don't know.
We have a bunch of questions here. You can submit your questions to eagleeye@nbcuni.com. If you're watching on YouTube, there's that QR code. We'll leave it up there. You can scan it, send it from your phone. Technology is really fun. First question.
But has there ever been a stranger transfer than safety at Cornell to edge rusher at Houston Christian?
It's weird.
That's like, I mean, to go from an Ivy to I don't know what conference they're in.
I did know that at one point.
Southland? I think it's Southland.
Maybe.
And to go, I mean, he totally skipped linebacker. He just went, I mean, we've seen safeties go to linebackers go to edge, but he just.
Maybe I'll call Cornell and get some of that tape of him.
Different part of the country, different position, different type of school.
Imagine him playing safety. A huge safety.
You should ask him about that next time. What kind of safety were you?
Yeah, a big one. First question, Tom from Liverpool.
Hey, Tom.
Hi, Reuben, Dave.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? I've given more thought to your, questions. Like, I think most of the questions are from Philly, but people aren't going to say they're from Philly.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like the people who are from a different place are going to say that they're from a different place.
Right.
If I'm from Philly, I'm from Philly. Kind of get that.
You're from Philly?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. Next one, Tom from Liverpool, massive fan of the podcast. Shout out to Dave for having me say Steve Mortorano out loud each week. Question: do you think Vic Fangio's defense will be successful this year?
Vic.
And do you think we as fans will be happy with the lack of pass rush?
Happy with the lack of pass rush?
I guess without the lack of pass rush. Vic's defense. Just talk about Vic's defense.
I think people like it. I think the questions aren't really, for me, are not Vic as much as do they have the talent, do they have the experience? They got some young guys in new positions and new roles.
Can having a veteran defensive coordinator cover up a little bit of that?
No, I don't think it hurts.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it hurts. But, it's certainly a better situation than Coach Matty. But I don't know. I think that's the big question about this team right now is the defense coming together. It might be, including slot, there might be 8 new starters. That's insane. So I think he's a very good coach. I think they have a chance to be really good, but it might take a little while.
Yeah, I think that's possible. I think the hope with Vic is just that you have a level of stability. It raises the floor of the defense. It might not be great. They might not have the talent to be a great defense, but if you get some semblance of order and structure and a guy that knows what he's doing, and you have an elite offense, it can work.
Yeah, I think the thing for me with the defense is like, it's so hard to say because I don't know what Devin White is right now. I don't know what Bryce Huff is right now. I don't know what so many of these guys, some of these young D-backs, like they look good in practice, but I don't know. I don't know. So there's just a lot of unknowns. I think by the end of the year, they have a chance to be pretty good.
Next one from Pat. I'm an avid listener of the show and really enjoy the insight you both bring to Eagles fans. At the end of the year, how do you think we will view the draft selections of the Philly Bulldogs? At the moment, it feels like a mixed bag with Jalen Carter looking like the home run and Keely Ringo showing real promise. But I think it's fair to say currently there's question marks with the rest of the group. Would love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, it's fair.
I'll tell you what, for a defense that's been as dominant as Georgia's, they've created some like weird prospects, just like league wide.
Yeah. And maybe if you have a college defense with 11 really, really good players as a group, it could be, then these guys get off on their own. Here, they're not really on their own, but maybe they're just, maybe some of their, I guess, sometimes the individuals aren't as good as the group is what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure that's the case here. I still think there's hope for Jordan Davis. I'm not ready to give up on him.
Yeah. I mean, you say we've seen some promise from Keely Ringo. We've also seen promise from Jordan Davis, like in real games.
Yeah.
The first, 5 games of last year?
It was great.
If he does that for an entire season,
he's very good.
You feel good. Very good
season. I think,
I agree. The Carter's the home run.
Yeah. I don't know. I think Jordan Davis had a good camp for the most part.
Which of those guys do you have like the biggest question marks?
Nolan. Yeah, I just don't know what
and
Nolan
Nakobe?
Is. Yeah, I mean, as far as the first round picks,
okay.
Keely's 4th round pick, but yeah, Nakobe, I haven't given up on him yet, but I'm getting close. It's just this is not what I expected.
Mm-hmm.
And he's in year 3 now, and he's not a starter. It's not good. I feel good about Keely. Nolan, I just don't know. Talks a good game.
He does. I think there are traits there for sure.
Yeah.
Got to see it. Next question from Joe. Love the show. With CJ Uzomah not winning the tight end 2 battle currently, I can't help but wonder how likely a Jack Stoll reunion would be for the tight end 3 job should he become available. And he goes through the Giants tight ends. It feels like Stoll might be the odd man out there. I don't know about that. I haven't watched their camp and I know their situation, but let's say Stoll is the odd man out and he becomes available. I think the Eagles will bring him back.
Yeah, why not? I don't see why not. Generally, I think if you can't play for the Giants, you probably can't play for the Eagles, but that might be a position where I don't know what they have.
They just drafted
Bavaro.
Theo Johnson. They have Bellinger.
Bavaro retire.
Who's that?
Mark Bavaro. You never heard of Mark Bavaro?
No.
Oh, Dave. Mark Bavaro. Mark Bavaro was a all-pro tight end with the Giants in the 80s. And then
his last season, I was 6 years old.
His last season with the Eagles. His last 2 seasons.
I was in kindergarten.
Oh, I mean, I wasn't even alive when Steve Van Buren played, but I could tell you all about him.
I think there's a little difference in the level of player between Steve Van Buren and Mark Bavaro.
Mark Bavaro finished his career with the Eagles, playing for Richie the K. This kid Bavaro, I'll tell you what, he can still play. He had a good year in '93, caught about 50 passes.
I'm sorry, I didn't know who Mark Bavaro was.
He was 6th in the MVP voting in '86.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was the first tight end to have a 1,000-yard season, I believe.
Okay.
You can look that up. But anyway, I'm sorry I brought up Mark Bavaro. But Jack Stoll, if he's available, it's a name I could see him bringing back.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you'd rather have him over Uzomah as the 3rd guy.
Yeah.
And then you can kind of split roles between him and Calcaterra.
Which was the idea last year.
Mm-hmm. But it didn't really happen. It was when they're in 12, it's Stoll and he blocks.
Yeah.
Next question from Joe, a different Joe, by the way. Enjoy the pod. This feels like year 5, at least, of the Dallas Goedert breakout season watch,
yeah.
But he's never had 60 catches or more than 5 touchdowns in a season. I realize injuries play a part, but are either of you willing to say that this could actually be the year he puts it all together? Would you mind going over or under on these stats? So here we go. Catches 72.5.
I don't see that.
It's a lot of catches.
It's a lot of catches.
Yards 800.5.
800.5, 800 and half a yard.
Yeah.
So 800 yards and 18 inches.
Yes. That's how over-unders generally work.
He had 830 in 2021. That's his only 800-yard season. I think that's a little high.
I think it's a little high, too. Touchdowns.
Especially because you have to factor in he's missed games, I think, every year.
And that has to play a role. You have to kind of assume that he's going to miss some time, which is maybe unfair to him, but
he actually had his most catches per game last year, right? He had 59 catches in 14 games. Well, he had 55 in 12 games the year before. So anyway, what else you got?
Touchdowns 4.5. He hasn't caught a lot of touchdowns.
No.
And I wonder if a lot of that is like they get to the one.
Jalen.
You know what's coming.
What's the number 4.5? I like that. They clearly are focusing on him in the red zone this camp.
Mm-hmm.
So I could see him catching 5 touchdowns. He did one once before in 2019. He had 5.
Yeah. It's something, and every time we talk to Dallas, he is very quick to say, I do not care about personal numbers. I think he does. I think everyone obviously does. Yeah. But he knows that it's kind of tough out here with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and now Saquon. Like, they're all going to have to show a level of selflessness this year. Next question from Sagar. Big Eagles and
Sagar? How do you spell that?
Sagar.
Sagar.
I'm trying to pronounce it correctly.
No, that's how I'd pronounce it.
Okay. Big Eagles and Eagle Eye fan from North Carolina. The question I have is, last preseason, Tanner McKee was a surprise. Who do you think will be a surprise this preseason? Thank you and keep up the great work.
In the preseason games?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if I'm saying he's going to be a surprise, then he wouldn't be a surprise because I'm saying he's going to. So what player do I think is going to play well in the preseason games?
Yes, who might be under the radar?
Lou Nichols.
No, take it back. I'm the Lou guy.
I've always been a Lou Nichols guy.
No, you're not allowed to have him. I'm Lou Nichols guy. You're trying to muscle into my territory. I don't appreciate it.
You can have Lou Nichols.
I'm the Lou Nichols guy of this podcast.
You asked me a question. I gave an answer. Yeah. So someone else. How about
someone else?
Patrick Johnson.
Hey, so a guy like Patrick Johnson could do it because he flashes. He's a veteran, so he's been around for a while.
Yeah.
He looks good in camp again. I
don't
know if he's going to make the roster. Based on the recent years, he is. He makes it every year.
Not sure where he fits in, but he's a guy who's a veteran going up against backup. He might be going up against some rookie guys.
Mm-hmm.
I could see him having a big preseason.
Yeah. I'll give you more Ojimo. And I'm not just saying this because he was.
After all that, you're not even taking?
No, I just don't want you to take him.
So I'm not allowed to have Lou Nick. But you're not taking him.
Yeah.
All right. Got it. Dave makes up his own rules for everything.
Ojimo, man, he's been flashing this summer. Do you agree with that?
Yeah,
I think he's gotten better and better. Looks bigger. Man, he's fast. I know he's undersized. He's listed like 293 for a defensive tackle that's light, but plays really physical football. He's violent.
Yeah.
I've been impressed by him.
Yeah. Be a fun one to watch Friday.
Yeah. Next question from Tom.
Hey, Tom.
Love the pod.
Thanks, Tom.
It's an excellent blend of intel and banter. We listen to every show. Dave/Rube, how has being a reporter of the Eagles affected your fandom over the years? Do you think it's made you approach the game a bit more as a job, or is the desire to win the same or greater now than when you started? Has access to the locker room and all of that taken a bit of the glitter out of the game, or are you as passionate as ever?
I think we might have different answers to this.
Okay, go ahead.
I mean, you grew up as an Eagles fan.
Yeah, so it's probably early on. It was probably a little more difficult for me to remove myself from that.
Yeah,
and I'm a nice guy. I like when my family and friends are happy. Like, I'm not a psycho. Like,
I kind of like when they're unhappy.
I like when my dad likes the Eagles, so it's like good. But like we've talked about this before, we feel the need to really separate that from the job we do.
Easier for me. I was never an Eagles fan. I didn't grow up here. I was never a football fan. I'd never watched I'd never been at a football game before the first one I covered.
Oh, really?
I'd been at a Stars game.
Okay.
I went to a Stars game at the Vet, and I think it was the very first Stars home game, and they put up on the scoreboard, "It's time for Philadelphia Stars trivia." It's like, oh, I love this team. Trivia. But yeah, it was never an issue for me. But you get close to certain players, and you like to see them do well, but you certainly don't.
Yeah, but the second part of this, like the glitter out of the game, and like sometimes I do have to remind myself that like this is really cool. Like we have really cool jobs. Like my cousin was at practice today. I got a chance to say hi to him, and he's like, I'm on the field. Like, I'm this close to the players, and it's a good reminder. Like we have very cool jobs.
We do.
I don't mean to take it for granted, but sometimes you just get like caught up in like what you have to do and like what our responsibilities are. Every once in a while, it's good to be like, all right, I'm watching a football practice. This is awesome.
Yeah, it's fair.
You got a bonus question here from Tom. Which Eagles player on the current roster would you say plays football like Warren Haynes plays guitar?
What kind of guy on the Warren Haynes? I only saw Warren Haynes once. It's not really my thing. I'm not into that whole jam band scene. My friend John, he just drove out to Indiana to see Fish 3 nights in a row.
Oh, the Fish people do it. Yeah, I have a Fish buddy.
Do you?
Mm-hmm.
No, I mean Fish is okay, but like
I like them. They're great musicians.
Great musicians.
I always joke. I'm like, did you enjoy the 5 songs they played?
Yeah. And the Fish fans are like, they're a little obsessive. It's like, oh, it was the first time they played, Monkey in the Middle since June.
How many times
5th.
have you seen Guided by Voices?
I've seen Guided by Voices 33 times, but I don't like sit there and say they haven't played Secret Star since 2001, which they haven't. But,
not that you're saying that.
But who plays football like Warren Haynes plays guitar? I think I know the answer to that. It's Lou Nichols.
All right, next question. Last question from Liam.
I hate that last question. That's depressing.
Hey, Dave and Rube.
Answer these all day.
Love the podcast.
Thank you.
Have always loved Rube's music takes.
Thank you.
I, as well, am a huge Replacements fan,
Nice.
but was disappointed on the latest ep. He didn't acknowledge the greatest band currently in existence, who also happened to be from Australia, King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard.
Yeah.
Rube, if you haven't given them a try yet, their album "Fishin' for Fishies" is a great starting point. Keep up the great work. Are you aware of King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard?
Yeah, no, I really like them.
Okay.
Yeah, they're really good. They put out like 5 albums a year.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, actually that same friend of mine is a huge fan. He's seen them like 78 times.
I am unfamiliar. Should I give them? Think I'd like them?
You might like them. Yeah,
Okay.
They're pretty good.
I'll give a shot there.
Yeah, I didn't realize they were from Australia though.
According to this guy, I didn't do any fact checking here.
I think
it's not what this pod is for.
I think he would know better than us. They're from Australia. Yeah.
Okay.
Interesting.
All right. That's all I have, question-wise. A couple minutes here. Who are you looking forward to seeing on Friday night?
Yeah, I think the receivers. We talked about Johnny Wilson and Brett Covey. Britton Covey.
You're all right.
No, I just couldn't say Britain.
Got worried about you there.
It wouldn't come out right.
I was about to call the ambulance here.
Britton Covey and Johnny Wilson. I want to see it's always hard and Covey's not a rookie, but it's kind of his first year where he's had a prominent role in the offense. It's not an easy thing. And this goes for all the young receivers to transfer. I think at that position more than any, to transfer what you're doing in practice. You know the corners, you know their tendencies, you're comfortable. Now you're going against guys you don't know, and it's a whole different world. So who can make plays in those situations is going to be interesting.
Yeah, in general, just like looking forward to seeing the rookies. Quinyon will play, Jalix Hunt will play, Will Shipley, Jeremiah Trotter Jr., Johnny Wilson, like all those guys.
I'm really curious to see Trot. Trot's quietly had a really nice camp.
Yeah, we haven't talked about him probably as much as we should. I think he's looked good. And with the uncertainty at linebacker, I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility. He plays a lot this year.
Yeah, a lot. Yeah, I don't know. It's possible.
I think that's in the cards. Like, it might not happen, but like, I think it's possible.
He's got a couple first team reps here and there. he might have a better chance to play than Nakobe.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how that's going to go, but
he might be.
I've been impressed by him.
Might be ahead of Nakobe.
Papa Trout's been out there recently. Apparently, I didn't see him. I saw photos of him.
I think you're saying Papa Shot.
No,
it's like they put a Papa Shot machine. No. Has he been out there?
Yeah, I haven't seen him, but I saw photos of him.
Okay. So Mike Mamula was there today, by the way. The former teammate.
Sure.
98, 99. Yeah.
You know who else I'm looking forward to seeing?
Who's that?
Lou Nichols.
Really? Why?
I'm a Lou guy. Alex, our producer, is saying he's the first Lou Nichols guy, and he's right. But
Alex is the first.
He's a big Lou Nichols guy.
Really?
Yeah.
Kenny Gainwell's a big Lou Nichols guy. He was raving about him.
We're all Nichols guys here.
Yeah.
If you enjoy the Eagle Eye Podcast, please rate and subscribe wherever you get your pods. If you're watching on
Lou
YouTube,
Nichols on the pod. Can we do that?
We can try. If you're watching on YouTube, please click the like button, subscribe there as well. There's a football game on Friday. Really excited for that. We'll talk to you after that at some point. For Rube, I'm Dave. This has been Eagle Eye presented by Nissan. Everyone have a good one.